The schools may be gone, but the legends live forever. Welcome to the Final Jumpshot podcast. Here's your host, Marcus Carlton.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to the long-awaited debut of Season 2 of the Final Jumpshot podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Carlton, and I want to take a moment right here, right off the top, and say thank you from the bottom of my heart to each and every one of you who've listened to the episodes of Season 1, you've sent me text, or you've told me in person just how much you have enjoyed listening to the Final Jumpshot. The response to Season 1 was well beyond anything I could have hoped for, and your messages, your comments, and most importantly, the numbers, that's helped to keep me motivated to make Season 2 even better. And with that, we've got a great episode lined up for you today to tip off this new season. Today's episode features a longtime coach in Northeast Arkansas who also happens to be a Hall of Fame member in the state of Missouri for the coaching he did up there. Now, I'm talking about the one and only Hoss Jones. And we've got 3 different interviews today to help share the legacy of Hoss. First up, one of Hoss's former players at Clover Bend, the legendary Scotty Pierce, will give us the player perspective of Coach Jones. Now, after that, we have Coach Barry Dehart. We got his start in coaching working as an assistant for Hoss when Hoss was coaching up in the state of Missouri. And finally, to close out this episode, we'll hear from another player, but not just any former player under Hoss. We're going to talk to his son, Stan Jones, to talk about not just playing for his dad, but what his dad was like away from basketball. So, you guys have listened to me talk long enough. Let's get started with the legacy of Coach Hoss Jones. Clover Bend legend Scotty Pierce. Scotty, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Well, thank you, Marcus, for having me on your podcast tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about Clover Bend basketball. I can't believe it's been 45 years since I played at Clover Bend, but time flies when you're having fun.
So talk to me a little bit more about playing for Coach Jones, or as most people know him as Hoss. What was it like to play for him? Where do I start? It was one of the greatest opportunities of my life. He's definitely a legend in the coaching circles. Not only in Arkansas, but also in Missouri. He coached a lot in Missouri. And, my opinion, he was a great coach. He instilled in us this was one of his mottos. We are going to do things right on and off the court. And, Coach Jones, he was all about structure. He was all about discipline. Coach Jones, he was hard on us. Practices, they were very intense, and they were very detail-oriented. He worked to instill not only a mental toughness, but a physical toughness. And if you ever got to watch us play, if there was any loose balls on the court, he was expecting you to go after it. He was wanting you to dive on the floor and get the ball, and he was a fierce competitor, and he wanted to win. We went to Swifton early in the year, and I just set this up. We went to Swifton earlier in the year, and they beat us pretty good. And they had some good players. They had Jabbo Floyd. I figure you've heard that name. Yes, sir.
Sonny Campbell. And they had another player that I could not think of his name. And, they beat us. They beat us real good. And anyway, we get back home, and, back then everybody rode the bus back home. And we start getting off the bus. Coach Jones told us to go in and get our uniforms on. We was going to have practice. So we played full game, and then we come home and did a full practice. I think that Coach Jones was giving us an attitude adjustment at that time, not only preparing us for the next game, but preparing us also if we played them again. And we did play them again. I can't remember what was going on, but I think it was a triple overtime win. You know, Marcus, looking back, you know, as I gotten older, and, you know, I look at it as Coach was not only preparing us for basketball, but he was preparing us for life, you know. And he always taught us to be respectful. He commanded yes sir and no sir, and he wanted you to be a team player. There wasn't no individuals. You know, today you see kids out here questioning the referees calling and getting technical fouls. You wasn't going to do that on Coach Jones's team.
Yeah, I was about to ask what would have happened if maybe you'd have gotten a bad call and you'd have turned around and kind of raised your hands at the referee in front of Coach Jones.
I wouldn't have been on the court very long, and I've been on the bench for a longer period of time. But you know, Coach, he wanted us to be coachable. You know, he demanded that work ethic. I mean, he worked us hard, but that's okay. And he always taught us about acting right, because we were not only representing ourselves, but we was representing the school and the community. And he even got involved in our appearance. There was quite a few of us had to get haircuts at points in time. So, you know, but the one thing about Coach, when you played for Coach Jones, you became part of his family. And he personally helped me get my first 2 coaching jobs after I got out of college. And he was a great friend, great mentor, and just an excellent coach.
Well, joining me now on the Final Jump Shot podcast, man, spent the first couple years of his coaching career coaching with Coach Hoss Jones. Barry DeHart. Coach DeHart, thank you so much for coming on with us.
No problem. No problem.
So give us just a little bit of the history of your relationship with Coach Jones, and kind of how you guys met, and you know, what kind of impact he had on your career.
Well, I spent my first 2 years coaching, being Hoss Jones' assistant. And I got the job basically because some guys from Northeast Arkansas, some coaches, they knew Coach Jones. And I go up there and interview, and those guys gave me a good recommendation for the job. So I got to spend 2 years with Hoss, which was huge for my coaching career, to get to spend 2 years with him before I became a head coach. I got to be his assistant for my first 2 years, which was very, very instrumental in my coaching.
Now, this was in Missouri, correct?
Yes, it was at West Plains, Missouri. I think he had coached a couple of years at West Plains, and then I was his assistant the next 2 years. And then I think he left West Plains and went up around Springfield, Missouri, and coached. Hoss coached at a lot of schools. He told me one time how many schools. It was quite a few, but he was successful at every school that he had coached at. He was very successful.
So talk a little bit about what it was like, you know, coaching under someone like Coach Jones, who, you know, he had the reputation as, you know, being very discipline based. And, you know, how did that impact you as a young coach just getting started in your career?
Well, it was very easy for me because I had spent my whole playing career at Greene County Tech under Coach Tommy Fowler. He was very discipline oriented coach. And it was lucky for me that Hoss was exactly the same way. So getting to work for someone that held your feet to the fire, just like I had when I played, it made it a very easy transition for me to be Hoss's assistant.
There's something about some of those, what I like to call the old school coaches that, they were very demanding. And, if you put it in by today's standards, it'd almost be like, well, they're just being too hard on the kids. But the reason that those coaches like Coach Fowler and Coach Jones were so hard was because I think they were able to see into each individual player what they were capable of. And they pushed you and other players so hard because they wanted to get the maximum out and basically show the players themselves what they were capable of. Am I in the right frame of mind there?
Yeah. Yes, no question. Hoss made you a better player simply because he made you reach levels that you didn't think you could reach. And that just goes back to the old school coaching. Things are a lot different now. I'm not in the coaching world, but I know that it's different than the way it used to be. Hoss was very, I remember we were in Houston, Missouri in a tournament. And remember, I'm a first year assistant. I'm 22, 23 years old. And I'm in the locker room and a kid, one of our starters forgot their shoes. And I'm trying to find this kid a pair of shoes. He's one of our better players. And Hoss walks in and he sees what I'm doing. And I'm not going to go into exactly what was said, but Hoss told me not to do that. He made the kid sit on the bench in his sock feet the entire game. He said, if you can't remember to bring your shoes, then you can just sit and watch. And I promise you, the next 25 games we played, that kid never forgot his shoes. Not one time. But that's the way Hoss was. You were supposed to be responsible for your stuff and the way you conducted yourself and the way you played. And that was just an example of the way it was going to be, which I appreciated that.
Sure. And it just kind of goes to, to kind of stick with that old school theme. The teaching went beyond the X's and the O's of the basketball game. I mean, there were so many more, I guess, life lessons would be a good way to put it, that coaches like Hoss and I mean, even Coach Fowler, I'm sure you could attest to this as well. It went well beyond what happened between the lines.
Oh, no question. Some of those kids that played for him, I still talk to them now. They've gone on and they really feel like it prepared them for the way things were going to be. When things get tough, you can't just turn and quit. You got to keep digging. You got to keep going on. You got to keep fighting. And that's the way Hoss was. And I think that exactly what you said, it sticks with you as you go on in life. You've got to do the same things. And I think Hoss prepared a lot of kids for life after basketball.
Any now, statute of limitations is probably up. Any good, funny Hoss stories that you may have from those first couple years of maybe something that was, it might not have been funny at the time, but as time goes on, you look back at it and it just gives you a good laugh?
Oh, there's a few things that that I dealt with. I was, like I said, I was very young, and I remember one time we had a meeting with a couple of parents, and this particular player wasn't getting to play as much as his parents thought that they should. And we were in a meeting with the athletic director, and the parents were kind of explaining this, and when it was time for Hoss to speak, Hoss just kind of sat there at his desk and he goes, well, I know his problem. He goes, he's got two of them, and I'm looking at both of them right now, meaning his mom and dad. And that was pretty much the end of the meeting. The good thing is that the story goes on. The kid became a really good player, and basically what Hoss was trying to get across to the parents is, you just need to let him, fend for himself, so to speak. That was what Hoss would always say. And, nowadays, I don't know that you can talk to parents like that, but that's just the way Hoss was. He was straightforward with them, said, right there's his problem. You two just need to get out of his way and let him go on. And I still laugh about that. That was my very first year at West Plains when that happened. And, of course, I'm so young, I can't even believe that, that you can do that, but that's just the way Hoss was. And I think everybody you talk to will tell you Hoss was, if you didn't want to know what he thought, don't ask him, because he's going to tell you.
Pretty safe to say that Coach Jones was not a sugarcoater.
No, absolutely not. No, he did not. He didn't. He just, if you ask him, he was going to tell you. I know there's been officials that they would ask Hoss, what kind of job you think I did. Well, if he didn't think you did a very good job, you're about to get an earful for him to explain to you.
I'm sure that your jaw probably dropped in that parent meeting like that. When you heard him just flat out say, basically what was on his mind. But in those first 2 years, what were some of the things that maybe you picked up from Hoss, or maybe direct lessons you learned from him that you applied to your career later on?
Oh, there's the way a lot of things that Hoss did with our practices were very similar to what we did when I was at Tech. In other words, it was very structured, how we go about practice. So to be around someone, because later on I was around coaches that did things different than that. And Hoss kind of did the same things that I remembered when I played. The main thing I remember about Hoss is we were always prepared for every game that we played, which for a young person starting out in coaching, to watch someone be prepared every time we played someone, that was important to me, because I don't know that all coaches do that, but I know the ones I've been around, the good ones, they're very well prepared, and Hoss was.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to visit with me and talk about Hoss Jones and the impact he had on your career. Really appreciate it. And, but I can't thank you enough for filling me in, because one of the things that I have found out in trying to do my research for this episode was, a lot of it has to come via word of mouth, because the documentation and stuff, especially when he was coaching here in Northeast Arkansas, is very limited. So to be able to sit down with someone that actually worked with him has just been an A+ for me, to kind of make it a little easier on me to get this episode put together. So thank you so much.
No problem. Enjoyed it, man. Enjoyed it.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Well, with me now here on this episode of the Final Jump Shot podcast is probably someone who will know Coach Hoss Jones better than anyone, and that's his son, Stan Jones. Stan, I appreciate you coming on with me, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it very much, man.
All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about your dad. I've always heard the name Hoss Jones, being a legendary coach around Northeast Arkansas, but where all did your dad coach during his career?
My dad coached like a lot of places around here in North Arkansas. Started out with Poughkeepsie a couple of years there, then Strawberry for a couple of years there, then went to Clifton, kind of Central Arkansas. Clover Bend a couple of times there. Went to McNeil, Belleville, Missouri. Oxy, a couple of years there. Then that's Missouri, West Plains, Missouri, for 3 years. Houston, Missouri, for 2 years there, I believe. And they went from West Plains, went to Southern, Missouri, and went there for 2 years. I didn't go there for 1 year. And after Southern, went to Stafford, Central Arkansas.
for 3 years, and went to Quitman. Went there 2 times. One back in the 70s, and last time was when I graduated back in 95. Just been 2 years there. Just for 13 years altogether, man.
32 years. That's a lot of stops in 32 years. And, I mainly knew him. I think you and I are about the same age because I graduated in 96. And I knew him mainly from his time at Stanford. Played against him a little bit when he was coaching there. I interviewed Brad Bain on an episode, back in season 1. And, we talked a little bit about that. And, Brad had some kind words for you as being a teammate, man, because he said he could always count on you to pass him the ball.
Oh yeah, man. That's what it's about, man. That's about teammates and trying to win a game. That's they do that. They're batting the ball.
Talking a little bit more about your dad. He's in the Hall of Fame. When did he? About what year did he go into the Hall of Fame?
He went in there back in 1988 up in Central Missouri. He's not in the Arkansas one yet. I don't know how old he isn't yet, but I think he should be.
You played for your dad at Stanford. Tell me what it was like playing for your dad.
Man, he just seemed like another one of the boys, I was like pretty much the 6th man, 7th man off the bench, senior high wise. And junior high, I was like on starters because it was on me, like Brad Bain and Derek Crossow, and a couple more guys that could play. But because it being a small school there, it's hard to get guys to play.
Everybody knows your dad as a coach, but I want you to give me, some stories or maybe something you remember about your dad away from basketball. Tell me about Hoss the dad, because everybody knows about Hoss the coach, but we want to know something about Hoss the dad that maybe not everybody knows.
There's nothing pretty much to tell. Pretty much it's always being the coach. Pretty much all know it best, but just tell you one story of, usually go to kid camps down West Plains. There was times that we went to ASU where this guy was over there. And they had all the gym, because they had 5 sports going on there, and they go use the V building too over there used. And there's one time equipment came down there because him and Dad were good friends. So we came down to camp, and was in the TV building this one day. Playing, I don't remember who was playing, but just they used the referees now, high school referees right here. So they used them for TV building, and we didn't like it. He didn't like the way the team was getting treated, and it's one of those things that he felt official in the bleachers, which. I can't tell who it is, but it's one of those things that I run out right now. But then the other part of it is he's a West Plains, Missouri at the time. Chris Tate was a very good friend of ours. He was calling there at ASU back when that was West Plains, and he was yelling, of course, like always, up and down the court. Chris Tate turns around and says, "Who is the heck is this guy here?" Yelling at me, So, but 2 years later, comes right out, he calls my games at Stanford. So, oh my goodness, I got to deal with this guy again. It was just kind of funny, but.
And it's always unique. I always enjoy listening to people who played for their dad, or in some cases, a female player that might have played for their mom. It's always unique for me to hear that perspective because. A lot of times the person that you see in the gym is a lot different from the person you see at home. Let's talk about the home life a little bit, man. What are some of your best memories of just you and your dad?
It is normally go to ball games, or go to Cardinal games every once in a while. Then go to exact games, like that, like tournaments, stuff like that.
Yeah.
While I was in school, still was, and they just. Like me and Dad, just treated me like a son. I mean, pretty much like your son and all that, and taught me stuff in life for that you need to be taught, So And once in a while we get out and go watch ball games. Pretty much all we did.
Everybody knows about the legacy of Hoss Jones. If someone was to ask you, what do you want Hoss Jones to be remembered for? What do you want to be his legacy?
Yeah, he was a good coach and a good dad in life, you know. And he would treat like everybody like his own son, you know. And because he would go to the end of the world for anybody that plays for him, and just care for him so much.
Thank you again for coming on, man. And we'll be talking to you down the line again, man. We may have to get an episode with you about the officiating side of things down the road.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate that so much, man. Thanks
all
so
right.
much.
Well, just some very great stories from all three of our interviews in this episode. I want to say again a very special thank you to each of them, Mr. Scotty Pierce, Coach Barry Dehart, and of course Hoss's son, Stan Jones. Now, the clock is just about to hit triple zeros on this first episode of Season 2. But before I leave, I have a small favor to ask of everybody. If you enjoy this podcast, you want to help it grow, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go get on the Facebook page and like the Final Jump Shot. Or if you prefer YouTube, I need you to go over to Cam Productions on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Lastly, if you're a business owner and you want to be a part of the show, we are now offering sponsorship slots in the Final Jump Shot podcast, and they start for just as little as $20 a month. You can advertise your business with the Final Jump Shot. If you're interested, you can give me a message through the Final Jump Shot Facebook page, or you can just leave a comment on the page, and I will definitely reach back out to you. We'll get a deal worked out, and we'll see if we can't help each other grow. We'll see if the Final Jump Shot can help you grow your business, and see if your business can help grow the Final Jump Shot. I want to say one final thank you again to everyone for listening. It's been my pleasure to take you on this journey on the legacy of Hoss Jones. Until next time, this is Marcus Carlton saying, so long, everybody.
You've been listening to The Final Jump Shot, a Cam Productions podcast. Subscribe to The Final Jump Shot to ensure you never miss an episode.